Hi, Serby.
Hey Nancy, how are you?
Can you hear me or see me okay? Sound is okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Yes. Yay. So happy that you're here. Welcome to my live stream.
Yeah,
My name
excited
is
to chat with
Nancy.
you
Yeah.
and your audience. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Just quick intros. My name is Nancy for those who don't know me yet. I'm a PM coach and I love doing live streams with other people in the community and I always walk away with a lot of learnings at the end of these sessions and that's why I keep on doing them and hopefully for those who are watching, you're also able to get to know us a little bit better and hopefully have some meaningful takeaways. So today we have Sarvi Gupta on the stream. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Sarvi.
Hey everyone, Surbhi here. I'm an engineer turned PM. Short intro. I've been in products since 8+ years. I've worked for both type of products, B2B as well as B2C, with startups as well as large companies like Meta, Tesla, and currently building AV at Zoox. Excited to be here. Yeah.
So tell us why you're passionate about this topic on why 95% of new products fail. Why is that? What prompted this curiosity for you?
Yeah, so there's like as a product person, or in fact any company, whether it's a large company or a small company, we always put our heart, our passion, our learning, tech, everything into building a successful product. And then why, like, I was surprised that it's 95%, because I was like, yeah, many products fail, but the number could be that high out of 30,000 new products built every year. So I started like this, like, okay, what really contributes to that? And it's not just like, okay, one product team is always making successful products and others are not, or they are not having enough resources. So what is that secret sauce? And it's a very like black and white area. I won't say it's like, oh, you have to, like, you won't hear anything new that you haven't heard before, but there is small subtle things that you can do. I think that can actually help you get to the mark. It's like getting to that 70% marks is easy, but then every one percentage
Yes.
increase is high, and then reaching from 90 to 100 is really hard. So I think the same stuff, but how do you execute and put it well, can make the entire difference. So I was personally very interested in making sure that whatever I am part of, because I do advise some startups, and I
Oh,
like have worked on in startups and larger companies, mostly building new products and within bigger companies. So always there is a lot of onus on you, that what can you do that the product is good. So yeah, I learned from my own, I would say, some failures, some like from some friends, and then was really looking at literature and research. So happy to
so
talk
based
about it.
yeah, based on your experience working in large companies and also advising startups, what are some of the successful, like what makes the successful products successful?
Yeah, I think it is like very simple. I would just say customers, like, people love, like, if your users love your product, it's a successful product. But at the same time, if you're making money out of it, so I would put these two attributes to success: that customers are loving it, they are becoming raving fans, and your product is actually not just being sold based on marketing, because that's not, like, that doesn't provide you an infinite runway. So, and you are making money, because otherwise you won't sustain. So yeah, that's my
Yeah,
definition. What do you think, Nancy? Is there anything else you would like to add?
I I think it's that sustainability that makes it successful. It's what if we just stop marketing altogether? What if we stop all the growth tactics altogether? Are people still coming back and using our products?
Yeah,
What do you
and
think?
essentially it's important that, of course, you have to, like, you have built an amazing thing people need to know, because what if you are best kept secret? So you need to do like awareness, right? But eventually, if you're constantly relying on that, then I
Yeah.
think there is definitely a larger problem. I think there are
Yeah.
some questions from audience I'm not seeing, but I got a notification. Do you want to check that?
Yes. So Audrey says, let me put up on the screen.
Okay.
Audrey says unit economics prevail. Hi, Audrey.
Hello.
Yeah, I think it's giving people a reason to use the products, and that reason should be intrinsically motivated. So I I use things not because of a push notification, or I use these things not because of an ad that I saw, right? I'm using it because it makes me happy, or it solves a problem, or I'm just dying to use it, or I'm just it's like habit now for me. So those are examples that I can think of.
Plus one thing,
On
I do think initially sometimes you might need a push notification. Let's say you install an
Yeah,
app and you forgot about it for whatever reason.
yeah,
Like maybe it's all, but eventually, if every time you have to come back and then you are like, okay, I'm going to turn off notifications, that's a bad sign. But if you are coming and you're interacting and finding value, then it's okay to depend on notifications at the time, because it's
yeah,
a busy like world and there are so many apps on your phone. But yeah, it should not be
totally.
like but actually solve a real problem in like maybe it's a very small problem but really help user in some part of their life, right?
You mentioned a good test. What if I turn off notification, but I still use it?
That is
That's
awesome. I think
that is super
that would be
awesome.
great. Yeah. And sometimes
So
power users do that. Like I was working in Messenger and Instagram when in Meta, and we had a cohort where people are always active. And do we really want to send the notifications? That's why sometimes you don't get a push notification. You're already active in the app, right?
yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Tell us about these examples on product failures.
Yeah. So there is like there are different type of focus, different types of areas that a company or a product team can focus. I picked up these examples because I think these are very common products, universally known. Google Glass, I personally think it was a very good product, but it was focused on technology. So it was technology centric instead of being customer centric, which means there was no niche user segment that was defined. And really what problem people do, like it's a cool technology, so people may some people who are like always like, okay, I want to try the latest gig, I'm one of them, but then we don't know what problem to solve with it. I think that was a main problem, being a tech centric product rather than a customer
Right,
centric product. So that's my take, that even if you are a company that has all the latest technology, but people are not able to find a use case or a value, then how are you making their life easy? They won't be coming back to your product, right? It is like, okay, I can, as you said, maybe through notification, maybe a cool
right,
factor, but will it really cross that chasm and actually go to the mass market? May not be. So
right.
I like to say that there are a couple of different ways how your company can be centric. What we really need is to be customer centric, but then there are these other centers. And I think many product teams and companies fail, that they think, okay, let's build what our competition is doing. So that makes you competitor centric versus really understanding your user. So that doesn't help in a long run unless you are able to differentiate. Another one
What are the
example.
different centric? So you said cus- what you said competitor centric.
Yes.
Are
So
there
competitor
other types?
centric. Yeah, sorry, I missed it.
Are
I
there
over.
other types of centricity?
Yes, yes. So one is a tech center, as I was saying, tech centric, where you
Mm,
are like you might be the most innovative company, and then you're like, okay, let's bring this latest technology in the market. Then you are very much taking the advantage of latest technology. And I'm not saying that it is always meant to fail, but it may not sustain in every product that you're building. You might get lucky at times, but you have to really think how your technology can help a customer. So if you use the technology but ultimately focus on your user, your customer, that can be a very like a secret sauce to that can could be something that can lead to a product success. Second one, we discussed about competitor centric. Many products try to compete on price, the quality, right? And maybe small innovation. But if they don't really understand who's their user, they may not be successful in the long run.
Yeah.
Third one would be business model centric. There are many companies
Mm.
that are very business focused, and I think Quibi is one of them. They try to focus on the business model that, okay, we are gonna use a Netflix kind of model, but bring Hollywood stars and make small like these videos. But they forgot who's their customer. Are people gonna pay them? Businesses, yeah, they're gonna charge this kind of subscription, but who are their customers? Again, the focus was more on their own business. How can they innovate this
Oh.
entire creator business by bringing Hollywood stars, right? Another one is very, very interesting, where you could be product centric, where you focus on your product development and differentiation. I would say that's amazing place to be, but even a better place is to be on the or focus on the customer and be a customer centric company, so that you are focused on customer needs, what they want, preferences, and then all other things actually are not your main focus. But you of course don't over you use them. I'm not saying don't look at them, but again, come back to customer every time. Does that make
What is product centric? What does that mean?
so you fall in love with your product, but you forget about your customer.
Oh,
So this happens that, okay,
yeah.
I think this is amazing problem I have to solve, and I don't want to pivot, even if
I
I'm
see.
learning
I
something
see.
else from my customers. That's like you are
Yeah.
just married to your product but not your user, right?
Makes so much sense. I think this is a good segue to talk about common pitfalls that you have seen.
Yeah, I think these are the main pitfalls that some companies think that, yeah, we are customer centric because we do user research, we have all the data, but then are you just like, how are you using these tools, right? I think, as I was mentioning earlier, that's the subtle difference, because you could be doing all of these things, but is your like only product team utilizing, or your entire company is basically focused on utilizing those? I think that really makes a huge difference. So I was reading this, we use product board in our company, and there are like, okay, how do we use this insights, whatever we are getting from customers, and share it with the entire company, so that we can rally around like what our users need and build a product on that, versus just like, okay, we know what our customers are, we're listening to the customers, and we have some KPIs defined, but our roadmap is focused on, okay, we want to provide this output but not the outcome, right? So I think that's a better place, where you are not making decisions based on just your gut, but you are actually using customers feedback. But a better place is like, everyone in the company understands that this is the main problem we are solving. Because sometimes I have personally seen that maybe there are some higher ups, some stakeholders, some sales, marketing, depending on the business model. If it's a B2B space or B2B2C space, you might have to win a contract and you want to build something. I don't think it's always that you have to create something new. Sometimes you have to understand if there is a friction in your product, maybe that you remove, and that could be a game changer, right? So you cannot do those things unless you understand your user really, really well.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Right.
I would say just like taking a feedback puts us in a state of bias that, okay, do you like this flow? And users might say, oh yeah, this is amazing, but do you really uncover their basic needs, they understand who they are, and then build a product to serve that?
What do you think? Yeah, what do you think of companies that are very sales driven
Hmm.
and they operate as a feature factory or like an IT shop kind of model where you have a account manager
Hmm.
and this account manager is saying customer wants this, customer says our competitors have that, so we should also have this. Now engineering or IT go build it. Like what do you think of that model
I like the
versus
terminology you use, IT
uh,
shop. Do you know an example of product? I have never worked for such a product, and I hope I don't have to. So not really.
I have
Okay, share an example.
um
We can, dig deeper into that.
I mean it's typically like this happens in my experience
Hmm.
happens more in the B2B space where
Hmm.
you have account manager or you have a sales team and they're managing the relationship with a customer and then the sales team would say to the product team or to the engineering team, customer says they want this,
Hmm.
so now go build it. And when we ask for why, right, the sales team would say, well, because the customer says this, or because this is they said competitor has this and you don't have it, so we need it. um and now it's kind of just like, okay, here's a list of everything that customer says they want, but what do they really need?
Hmm.
But in that environment, it's not a product team working together, solving customer issues. It's more like a he said this, she said
Okay, I hear
this,
you now. I think
right?
that's really the problem, being like when I was saying earlier that even I think every company has a structure today where they are saying, oh, we listen to our customers, we do user research, we
Right,
invest in that, but how do
right.
they utilize that? Because that's a really bad example of listening to your customers, because I think you need to do a couple of things.
Yes,
Number one, really focus on what's your niche user segment, because maybe your product is focused on a particular type of customer, but you have all these other type of customers that are giving you certain things. I think a general rule in life is you can't make everyone happy, and that's okay to accept. You need to focus on your target
mm,
segment, right? That let's say I started writing a book, and I first thing was, okay, who is the person, who is the target type of person or user that I need my books to appeal to. I know there will be critics, there would be people who will love my book, but it's okay. I just have to focus on providing value to some people. Similarly, for product, I would say start there.
yeah,
Then, as you said, it's like if you listen to all of these customers or potential users, the challenge is also you won't have focus. So second would be
right.
focus. You will build everything and then it becomes like a kitchen sink or an ID shop kind of a thing, as you said. Yes, chasing rabbits won't lead you to success, and then you won't be able to, like, if you're a startup or even larger company, you have limited
Right,
resources. We always operate in constraints, and then your product will just not provide that value, because even if it has, it would be hidden. And no, like Google Class, it was amazing, but again, no
right.
clear customer, right? So you don't know what to do around that.
What do
Mhm.
what do you think they were trying to solve with the
I
Google
don't know.
Glasses?
I saw it with some of my Googler friends at the time when I moved to the Valley, I think 2014-ish. So I thought it was cool, but that's it. That was my reading. But I think the challenge was it was a cool technology. But
Yeah,
let's say, were they really focused on B2B, B2C? That was not clear. So I think now they are, again, I'm not like, I don't know, I don't work for the team or haven't really been following it. But now, if I have heard they're focusing on very niche user segment, and there are some use cases, maybe you're helping people who work in mines with like glasses. So maybe you need to make your glasses more robust. Earlier, it was very like very fragile. So those folks cannot use, even though they want to use. Or if you want to make it totally for travelers, then there might be the battery issues or whatever. Like, you have to really understand your customer and then customize your product
right.
and the technologies that you have invented that it serves better. That's like turning a technology into a product, right? I think that was missing, and that could make
Uh,
the product better.
yes, so we have Sumit from the audience.
Mhm.
Sometimes potential customers just ask to build new features because they don't want to say no to your face. They just keep stalling by asking to build new features. That is interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's why the third thing I wanted to say, that you really need to decipher what our customer wants, and you need to, of course, see what to absorb and what to ignore, because there is always this, like, what do you want versus what do you need, and are they gonna pay, and how many people, right? Like, if are you like Apple, who are focusing on a luxury segment, then maybe you don't need masses. But if your approach is that you want to build something that is in every household, then it's a different focus. That's why I'm saying really understand what's your target market, and then take customer feedback, and also analyze what feedback is right for your product. And like, wear that critical hat. Customer is not always right. You have to educate. I can share an example. When I was working for a messaging product, usually there's always like too many notifications was one of the top reasons why would people mute our product. And once they mute, they forget. Like, there's a high probability. So doing every user research was like, yeah, notifications are the trouble. And what do we do about it? But many people find notifications useful because they're like, okay, I if somebody is messaging me, how would I come to this app? So what do you do? It's a big trade-off. Like, power users don't need notifications, but then you have these other users who might be daily or weekly active users, and they are
Yeah.
relying on your product. Like, imagine WhatsApp don't have notifications. Would you like, it would be not a good product, right, for a messaging product without a notification. So we did user
Uh,
research, looked at data, and user research was giving that, yeah, if you remove notifications or like reduce the volume, not like remove it, it would serve good. But really understanding users pain point was, I might be busy right in this meeting. If you're sending me constant notifications, it may not be useful and it might be annoying, and I will
right.
just put it on do not disturb mode or mute the product for some time. Whereas if I can adjust the notifications based on my past behavior, like, have I checked the previous notification? Have I taken any action? Is this message interesting to like me? Of course, we have to respect all encryption and everything, but the way we would deduce it, how other people are reacting if it's a group message, are they responding if this
Right.
message is longer? Just giving you some tips like how we could take some signals and then see, okay, this is most likely going to be helpful for user. So let's just surface the notification versus waiting
Yeah.
for every message. Yeah.
That is huge. So I'm in a family thread on the Line app, so similar to WhatsApp, and I mute it. And that's because it's not because I don't want to talk to my family. It's because when one of us, and there's only three of us, so
Okay. And not too
it's
much
not a big
volume,
group.
I'm guessing.
Right, it's only three, and yet I muted that chat. Why? It's because when one of us sends multiple pictures, then it's one notification per picture.
Oh,
But
yes.
I don't need like 10 notifications just because someone sent 10 pictures,
That's an
and my
excellent
phone would just
example.
like go.
Yeah. So let's say if I talk to you as a user, you tell me it's a
Yeah,
lot of notifications and don't send me, and we would just not send you notifications. That's not the solution. We need to understand the pain point is you
exactly.
want a notification,
Ex
but may not be for every picture. That's really like one level deeper, right? That's why we're saying it's not a rocket
Right,
science. It's just like really
right.
uncovering, and maybe user won't tell you in the right way. So you have to do all those studies, what we say ethnographic studies, really
Yeah,
understand your user well. And maybe some users
yeah.
want every picture, right? So you need to say,
I
okay,
can't.
yeah, so you are identify cohorts and provide different type of product experiences.
Right, right. Or when there's two of them talking
Mm-hmm.
and I I can't or I'm busy, I don't need to be notified of
Absolutely.
every single
Yes.
right?
Yeah, yeah, so this was
Um,
one of the
because
features.
I'll
Sorry, go ahead. I think I had a last.
no, no, so but yeah, it's like, okay, I know there's a conversation going on. I can't look at it right
Yeah.
now, but I'll check it later.
Yeah. So that was my product. Like, where I was trying to build the world's best notification system by really taking these signals that, okay, if a user, for example, has not checked a notification in last 5 minutes, should I send another notification? Or how many notifications I have sent him in last 1 hour by volume? There are so many different things you can do, experiment and check with your users. Again, don't just operate blindly that this works for me and it's going to work for my users as well.
Yes,
So
yes,
but
yes.
yeah, it's really fun to hear from you about the pictures example. Yeah.
Tell us about what you mean by Me Too products.
Yes. So, this is exactly when you were saying your sales team usually say, oh, you know what, we are not getting this RFP signed because our competitor is providing this one extra feature. If we build
Right,
this, we might be able to win this customer, especially in B2B product.
right.
Even in B2C, sometimes you see like you're getting this from anyone in your company, right? I'm not saying just higher ups that, oh, this is doing, like, maybe let's say Uber and Lyft example, Uber is doing this, so Lyft should do that. But that's like you're building a Me Too product, which is, yeah, what is like, some features I would categorize into two are essential features that you have to provide. Then those are like the core features of your app. But then don't copy just what your competitor is doing. Understand why they are giving this. Do really users care
Right.
about that? Is your user like same? So again, I won't focus on why they are doing, but I would analyze what I would do what my use, like what the users of my product need, and then do a
Right.
justification, not like in my justification requirement because the other company is doing, so we have to do that as well. And if your sales or marketing team is saying that we need to do, again, challenge why, what problem it's
Right.
solving, does it even resonate with our product,
Right.
our company's strength, right? Our mission, everything goes, because people come to your brand because you are solving a problem. You are exist in the
Right.
world for a particular problem. And then if it resonates, go ahead, copy your competitor. But if it doesn't, then say a big no.
Right.
And
And
then
I
don't
have a real
copy.
life example.
Also, like, do innovation, right? Go
Yes.
ahead. You have.
Yeah, I recently come across this problem. I run my own business now. I
Okay.
have a coaching business, and I have to use tools to
Mm-hmm.
run my business. And I am always interested in all kinds of different tools out there that I could leverage. Um, but there is a cost to switching tools.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with one tool, and then I've now I have data in that tool. I have data in that platform, um, and then there's this other tool that kind of does similar things. And I met with the founder
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted to see if I would use their product, and they do some. They have some really nice features, but they're also missing some of the features that I need. And then he said, "Oh, don't worry because they're working on the missing features. It's already on their roadmap and will be released soon." And then I'm thinking, but that still doesn't give me a reason to switch
Mm-hmm.
because now there's a switching cost.
Yes.
And now I have to migrate data,
Mm-hmm.
or now I have to like redo all the setup that I've done before.
Right.
So just because you have all the features that I might need, it still doesn't give me enough reason for me to switch. Like there has to be a really good reason.
Yes. And one
That and
way.
that's the first. No, go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, so that was my first reaction when I saw the Me Too product, because just by being the same doesn't it doesn't give me a reason. Like there has to be something else, like brand value, for example. Like I believe in the mission of this company, or I believe in the CEO's, like charter, etc.
Yes, couple of ideas that come to my mind. Even let's say there is one extra feature which is like, okay, little bit Me Too plus.
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna switch because, as you said, there is so much overhead. So if
Yeah.
I was a founder, what I would do, I would first maybe make it seamless. If you have to switch, Nancy, that's not your
Right.
problem. Our product will do it for
Yeah.
you. So that's
Right.
removing friction. I don't have to build a new feature
Yeah.
to please you.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I just remove that friction, so at least you will consider. And then I will
Right.
really try to bring in something that solves, that makes this product 10x better. And if 10x
Right.
is not possible, then I would perhaps do make an ecosystem or something. Let's say people are in Apple's ecosystem. So maybe my product is just okay or a me too, but I have
Right.
the value from other products. So I'm thinking out loud, but I think those are a couple of things
Yeah.
I would try to give value to the user in some way.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to ask you about this. Deliver plus one. I think you just mentioned it now.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What is plus one?
Yeah, so this comes from, this educational, how educators, so they, like, in order to be a good, like, working with kids, students, they have this methodology that you really understand what is the problem that students are facing, and then you deliver plus one to that. That makes you outstanding. So in products, exactly, like, I would say, read this book, Raving Fans. Our previous, like, I used to work for a startup, and my CEO actually gifted it to all the team members.
Oh.
So
Wait, what is this book called?
Raving Fans, so it's a very thin book, I
Raving
have it on my
Fan.
desk. So basically the book just tells you the key messages. As I was saying, in order to not spend on marketing, especially in context of, like, say, B2B to C products where you don't have billions of customers, unlike Meta or something like larger companies. What if your customer becomes your advocate and they are bringing other customers? Like, you love this product and you are becoming like, okay, I am going to write about your product, how it provide case studies, everything. So your customer becomes a raving fan. So this, I actually really liked it. Okay, deliver this plus one thinking. So an example would be, let's say, yes.
Is it this book?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, it's, but the main message is like what resonated with me was this plus one thinking, and you can Google about it as well. But it was interesting that, okay, don't just stop at the surface when you know, okay, this is like a validated pain point and this is the way we are going to solve, exceed the customer expectation, surprise them, and then you are like really winning their heart. So this book talks about a grocery store example, that a store really wanted to make it like the best possible store in the neighborhood. What would they do? They are just selling groceries. So they iterated on a couple of options, look at that who they want to serve. For example, if they want to serve old people because the neighborhood demographics were like that, what problems do they have? It's not just competing on price from the other store, like, okay, if I reduce my price, you won't become the best store, because the demographics is old people who have been living in the area for maybe 30 years. They don't want to switch the grocery store. Maybe they have formulated those relationships, they have friends. There
Yeah,
should be such a compelling reason that yes, I would give try to a new store. So what they did, that these people have accessibility challenges, maybe we provide them with helpers, like, who is going with you in the aisles and reading the labels. So they, I mean, I'm not going into the solutioning, but really really understanding that if we
right.
compete on the price, people are, the old people are rich, they're not gonna do that change. I mean, they like took an example of this particular demographic. I liked it, like, okay, even if you build with latest technology, are these people going to adopt the technology? No, they just need some help as they're growing old. And what can you do that maybe a store is not even thinking about, and they became the best grocery store. So this is like you're solving the problem but uncovering what they really need and doing what they
Right.
expect.
There's a workflow outside of the product, and we need to understand what is happening outside of the product. So we don't just look at the minute they step into the store and the minute they leave.
Yes,
We also have to look at how are they getting there, or what if
exactly.
like serendipitously they meet with a neighbor at the store. Like you just can't really replicate that just by building another store.
Absolutely. Maybe there are
So yeah,
parking
that
challenges, right? If you solve that,
right.
which doesn't have to do
Yeah.
anything with your grocery or store
Right.
experience, but that will be such a big relief to a customer. So
Right.
really understanding your customer, and in digital products,
Right.
it's hard sometimes, but
Yeah,
you
it
have
is.
to uncover that, and that's why you will not be like, if you think about your like competition, your product, all these other things that I talked about earlier, you may not uncover that.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. So is there anything you want to add to this discussion before we wrap for today?
I think those are like the things, like really small things, but they bring in a big value. Another last thing I would like to add, that yeah, we all use data, but how do you use data really is the game changer. For example, there was a case study I read from Kellogg that was more like, there was a hospital and they changed their devices, and they were experimenting, is should they, like they ordered like, let's say 50, like A/B test, right? Like, should we adopt this new technology for x-ray versus not? And they wanted to see, is it gonna help our technicians perform better? Are we gonna increase their efficiency? So they had this pilot. Data proved that the technicians are taking longer, so there's like, okay, we are not gonna replace the devices and not gonna sign the contract. So imagine, they looked at data, they did everything right. It's proven that this new x-ray is gonna do in like, let's say 1 hour. I don't remember exact statistics, but the older machine is gonna take 30 minutes. How can you imagine that it's taking longer, right? If somebody looks at the data and just stop there, they're not gonna innovate themselves, which is again not good. Because let's say
Right.
you are not using technology that exists. So if there is a person in their team who is curious enough to see, like, okay, how is this possible on the planet when you have a great product, why it's taking longer in our hospital, and why are we not efficient, right? And there is no false claim. So they uncovered this,
Yeah.
and they figured out the challenge was old technicians who are more expert, they are sticking with the existing machine. Only new novice technicians were using the new machine. They anyways take longer, so it was not adding
Uh-huh.
to the efficiency. So it was like more bias on how the data is being used. So the whole thing was changed, and then they were like, okay, this is not a problem with the machine but our data, because there was
Right.
such a big bias.
Right. Right.
So I think that
Yeah.
happens many times, that at the surface it looks like, oh, we have taken a very data
Right.
driven decision and we are good, but have you really understand the story behind it, why it's not working? So I
Right.
would suggest really challenge if your data scientist is bringing up something, because they are doing their perfect job but they may not know what problem you are trying to solve. And if the results are different than what your gut was telling, you have to question and not stop there. So be bold and challenge, and then you will uncover what is
Absolutely.
really needed.
Right. Sometimes the data is surface level,
Yes.
and that's exactly what this example tells us. And it's our job to really understand what the data is saying.
Yeah.
So we have one more
Sure.
comment from the audience. Let me bring it up. 1 second. Hi, Nikhil. Is it better to bring customers as advocates by doing above and beyond and wow them when we know it's not going to help profits explicitly? Or should we also try to find the right balance?
Do you want to pose the question on me, Nancy? I didn't.
Yeah, what do you think? So I could take a stab at answering this question. Um,
No, I'm happy to
when
answer, but I
we,
didn't understand the two choices here.
oh, yeah, yeah, go
No,
ahead,
can you
sorry.
share the question? Like, can you say it out loud? So,
Oh, wait, yeah, I just did. Is it better to bring customers as advocates by going above and beyond and wow them when we know it's not going to help profits explicitly?
okay, so the challenge is like, do you increase the profits or you wow your customers? Is that the
Well,
trade-off?
it's more like should we wow them when we know it's not going to help the profit?
Okay. I would say look at your runway, look at where you're operating. Do you have like how much this is gonna cost you? I always like to create products that customers love, because maybe in the short run, if you're not getting immediate profits, but the customer is gonna stick for longer, there is a LTV, that's like lifetime value of the customer. I would focus on that. Again, I won't blindly just put all the sources and energy if it's not gonna move the needle. But let's say the reviews from the customer are better, I won't focus on short term profit. Have a longer term vision. That,
Yes.
yeah, I would trade off. But if you're a startup, you have to again pick your like sweet spots. What really helps the customer. So I want to say build everything that is actually helping your customers. But you said by going above and beyond and wow them. That sounds like you should not compromise at all. And I mean the question is incomplete in the sense: is it adding to too much of your resources? Is it adding some constraint? What are the downsides? That's why these trade-offs are challenging, so you really need to understand where you're operating. But if the trade-off is simply that you are able to build something but it's not adding to any profit, then how do you win your stakeholders in the company? You have to have a long-term thinking and do some like maybe present them with customer reviews, show long like sustainability and everything like that. Yeah.
I just remembered a podcast that I listened to on Slack's um, like operating model. More about like internally how they think about planning their features. So
Interesting.
Slack, as we know, has a lot of delightful features, things that we don't really need in a messaging and productivity tool, and yet Slack prioritizes them. But if you let me find a link and I could put it in a comment afterwards. Um, it has to do with the company's DNA, and like building delightful experiences is just part of their DNA. So they make time to do it, but it doesn't mean that that's the only thing they do, right? So and I forgot what the cadence was. I think it was once a quarter or something like that, where they would plan their roadmap and I think they called it things that customers love or something like that, and they just They just burn down the list, and they create time every so often to just work on these things that their customers would love. But that's not the majority of the time. It's maybe like once a week, 1 week in a quarter, or 1 week in six months, or something like that. So
That's mhm.
yeah, I would say it's definitely a balance, but it's also not a short term gain. Like, just because we did one thing that customers love, it doesn't mean that this will result in a long term gain, but it builds up over time.
Absolutely. And that's
Yeah,
why,
you're
Nancy, plus one to that. I didn't say deliver plus 10 or plus 2, deliver plus 1.
right,
Because
right. Yeah,
it's not sustainable. If you are like, okay, we are just gonna do everything, then you're not gonna do anything, right? So
right,
just
right.
find that one something really a big
Yes,
the
yes.
I would say the focus is and the effort lies on what is that one thing,
Yeah,
1%, I would say,
yeah.
rather than finding 10 things again and bloating your roadmap, adding to the problems, or not being able to deliver anything. So find that small thing that really matters and do that.
Yes, yes. I agree. One more.
Sure.
Hi, Sumit, again. From MVP product design perspective, should we focus differently on B2B versus B2C products? For example, does functionality trump an emotional design for B2B products?
Interesting. I don't think from any product fundamentals or the B2B versus B2B would differ in this respect. It depends. Like, do you want to take an example of a product, Nancy, to make it more
Um,
tangible?
I am bringing up a visual. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Uh, Hold on 1 second. Okay, let me share my screen. My computer is a little bit slow.
What are you showing? Is it a
Oh, there
something
we go.
curious?
I'm showing, yeah, here. This is what I want to show. This pyramid.
Okay.
So this is a pyramid of what users need in a software product. And a successful product has all 4 layers. They address all parts of the pyramid. On the bottom, which is the biggest part of the pyramid, is functionality, right? And as we move up the pyramid, um, we start working on reliability and the usability and delightfulness. So I don't consider functionality to trump emotional design, but I also don't see a product that is not delightful to be a successful product.
I think I agree with that. And what, like, I was thinking, let's take an example of a product like Jira, which is again a B2B to like B2B kind of a product, right? So
Yeah,
the challenge here is, yeah, it's in your organization for like last 5 years, and there are other cool products. I would say in today's world, again, it's hard to switch a product, but can you sustain? Our new customers are going to use. So that's why Jira, they were trying to make it cool to appeal to the kind of people they're going to use. It had so many formatting issues. And I mean, I personally am a bit nerdy, so I didn't have too many problems, but I would hear from everybody, I hate Jira. Can we use something else? Sorry, no attachment. Sorry, don't. But I'm just giving you a user feedback. And then I was like, hey, but this has so many other positives, and like, it's making our life easier. But to answer your question, there is all this functionality, but then there is this emotion in the people's mind that, oh, I cannot format it well. There is like all these, it's very very technical, it's built for engineers,
yeah,
but why should I use as a UX designer, as a product person, when I have so many other alternatives, like, there are, right? So I would suggest, as you showed that pyramid, have the functionality, because if you don't have functionality and it's just the few
yeah,
bells and whistles here and there, then of course you can't convince your stakeholders to go through this change. It's not worth it. But having some delight factor is
yeah,
important. Even in jobs to be done framework, I know there are like people like it or hate it, but don't just focus on functionality. You will never succeed. Go on like what really are social needs, emotional needs of users, and then you really
Right.
understand the user. As we were talking about the grocery store, parking is something that would never
Yes.
come if you just focus on the functionality, because the job to be done is, okay, I come and shop at the best
Right.
quality at the least price in the least time, and this could be one job to be done. But do you understand beyond your job, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
interesting.
So
Interesting
we,
question. Yeah.
yeah, tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, so I'm a hobbyist podcast. It's just like
What does that mean?
it's a hobby. Not
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I started it in pandemic with few friends, like in peak of I think 2020 or something around that. So it was just like we three would chat, and then some of our other friends, I have a community better PM, and they were like, okay, we would also like to hear into some topics. So I was like, okay, let's focus our conversation and record it. And I hate editing, I really hate it. So the challenge was, okay,
Me
there are
too.
many podcasts ready, but who is gonna edit? So we were like, okay, we'll post only those which are a little bit presentable, but we are not gonna edit, really no edits. So that was how it started. Like three of us would just talk and post it. If someone finds value, amazing, right? And it was fun for me to at least meet these friends every week. It was just like a Zoom meeting. So that's how it started. Then I did another segment last year, which was like inviting people. I was doing it on my own, but inviting someone else, interviewing if they have done something radical in their life. And so like they had, I generally think if you have a failure, then you rise to success. So having those stories, because it's always we look at the success, but what's the story behind it? So that
Right.
was like a segment where I think I interviewed 10ish people and created those
Oh,
episodes.
wow.
So when I say hobby, it's like, again, I don't edit. And that is like not gonna, I know it's not sustainable. It won't make your podcast number one, but I do it for fun as a hobby. But now there are some products which might make my life easier, but I have this inertia. Okay, I want to do what I like. um
Yeah.
right, that's my strength. So yeah, that's why I just put it in the hobby category.
Yeah. I also hate editing, and that's why I do live streams.
Oh, I
Is
love it.
because when I know it now removes my assumption that,
Hmm.
okay, I should edit. Because it's a stream,
And
I don't feel the need to edit.
and I think it's setting
And
the
so
right
I don't.
expectations, right, with the audience, that it is
Yeah,
not going to be edited. I love it. Yeah.
exactly. And so now I don't do offline recording anymore, because when I record offline, it's like, "Oh, I have to edit."
Yeah,
But
and
streams, I don't feel the need to, and yeah.
you're cool,
Maybe
Nancy.
maybe
I
I
think
could
I'm gonna do
join
that. Hmm?
maybe I could join your podcast
Yeah,
next time.
absolutely. Let's do that. Yeah, let's.
Okay, yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
fun. I just like talking to people. It's like a coffee with Surbi kind of a thing that I want to do.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on to my live stream. And for folks who want to stay in touch with Serby, scan the QR code and listen to her podcast. And I will see you all next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.